Ethan lived a very normal life. He was a young man who stayed in a small apartment at the edge of the city. His days were filled with ordinary things, working, cooking his own meals, watching shows late at night, and sometimes staring out of the window to look at the stars. He often wondered if there was life out there among the stars, but those thoughts usually ended with a small laugh. People had looked for aliens for centuries, and yet nothing had ever appeared. To him, aliens were only stories, nothing more. That night, Ethan was sitting at his desk working on his laptop. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the computer. The window beside his desk was open a little, letting in the cool night air. The moon was bright and stars were scattered across the sky like tiny diamonds. Everything seemed calm and nothing strange was expected to happen. But then Ethan heard something unusual. It was a faint sound, like a soft thump outside the window. At first he thought it might be a bird or maybe a stray cat jumping onto the roof. He ignored it and went back to typing. But the sound came again, louder this time, like someone landing on the balcony outside his room. Ethan froze. His apartment was on the 4th floor. No normal person could just climb up there. He slowly turned his head toward the window. At first he saw nothing. The curtain moved slightly with the wind and the balcony lay in shadow. He stood up carefully, his heart beating faster, and walked toward the window. Then he saw her. A figure was standing there in the moonlight. She was tall and slender, with long silver hair that glowed faintly as if it carried light within it. Her eyes were large and bright, reflecting the starlight like pools of crystal. Her skin was pale but not like any human's. It had a faint shimmer like it was touched by the night sky itself. Ethan froze completely. He wanted to shout, to run, to do something, but no words came out. The girl stood still, staring at him with wide, curious eyes. For a moment, the two simply looked at each other, both surprised and unsure of what to do. Finally, Ethan whispered, Who are you?" The girl tilted her head slightly as if trying to understand his words. Then in a soft voice that sounded musical yet uncertain, she spoke, "I am Lyra." Her accent was strange, and the way she formed the words made it clear she was not used to speaking his language. Ethan blinked, confused. "Lyra?" he repeated. "What are you doing on my balcony? How did you even get here?" Lyra looked around nervously, her silver hair moving with the wind. Then she stepped forward into his room. Ethan stepped back quickly, but she raised one hand, not in threat, but in a gesture of peace. "Please, do not fear," she said slowly. "I need help." Ethan could not believe what was happening. A strange girl, no, not just strange, but clearly not human, was standing in his room at midnight asking for help. His mind raced through possibilities. Was this a dream? Was he imagining it? But she was too real. He could see the faint glow of her skin, hear the soft sound of her voice, and feel the cool air move when she walked. "Are you," he whispered carefully, "an alien?" Lyra's eyes flickered and she seemed to hesitate. Finally, she nodded. "Yes, I am not. From here, I did not mean to come here, but I had no choice." Ethan's heart pounded faster. Every science fiction thought he ever had came rushing into his mind. Aliens? In his room? Asking for help? None of it made sense. But Lyra's expression was not threatening. She looked lost, frightened, and desperate. "What do you mean you had no choice?" Ethan asked, his voice shaking. Lyra lowered her gaze. "I was escaping. There are enemies. They were following me. I used transport device. It should send me far to safe place. But it is broken. It sent me here." She looked around the small room, confusion mixing with sadness. "This world is not prepared, but I could not control." Ethan took a deep breath. "So, you're telling me you ran away from someone, used some kind of teleportation, and ended up in my room?" Lyra gave a small nod. Ethan rubbed his face, trying to process the madness of the situation. He should be panicking. He should be calling the police. He should be doing anything but standing here and listening. But something in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't lying. She couldn't be lying, not with that raw fear and honesty written all over her face. He sighed. "All right. Suppose I believe you. Why come to me?" "What am I supposed to do?" Lyra stepped closer, her eyes shimmering. "I do not know your world. I do not know your people. I came here by chance. But you saw me. You hear me. That is enough, please. I need safety. Just for short time, until I can repair device." Ethan hesitated. It was insane, but could he really turn her away? If she was telling the truth, then leaving her outside could mean danger for her, and maybe even for Earth. Something inside him told him he couldn't abandon her. He nodded slowly. All right. You can stay here, at least until we figure this out. But you'll have to explain everything clearly. No more half answers. Lyra looked at him with relief, almost smiling. Thank you, you are kind. Ethan tried to smile back, though his heart was still racing. He offered her a seat, and she sat carefully on the edge of his bed, as if she had never used such furniture before. She touched the blanket curiously, studying the texture. It was clear she wasn't faking. She truly was not from this world. For the next hour, Ethan asked questions, and Lyra answered as best as she could. She explained that she was from a distant star system. Her people lived peacefully, but another alien empire had attacked them. She had been carrying important data when she was chased. To escape, she used an unstable teleportation device, which had sent her across the stars, landing her on Earth. Ethan listened in silence. The words sounded impossible, yet the sincerity in her voice made him believe. She wasn't trying to conquer Earth or harm him. She was just a lost traveler, running from a war far beyond his imagination. As the night grew deeper, the reality of the situation finally sank in. An alien girl was sitting in his room depending on him. His life, once simple and ordinary, had changed forever. Ethan looked at her and thought, why me? Out of all the people in the world, why did she appear in my room? But another thought came right after. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is what happens next. And so, without warning, Ethan's quiet life turned into something extraordinary. The midnight visitor had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The following morning felt unreal to Ethan. He woke up in his small apartment the same as always, but something was very different. Sitting quietly by the window, staring at the sky, was the alien girl, Lyra. Her silver hair shimmered faintly in the sunlight that entered the room. Her eyes, reflecting shades of blue and violet, followed the movement of clouds as if they carried answers she sought. She looked calm, but Ethan could see a deep sadness behind her quiet gaze. For a moment, Ethan wondered if he had dreamed everything. But when Lyra turned to look at him and gave a small nod, reality sank in. This was no dream. Good morning, Ethan said, his voice uncertain. Lyra tilted her head. Morning. Yes, you are. Awake. Her words were still careful, as though she was slowly learning the rhythm of his language. Ethan rubbed his eyes and sat up. He tried to act normal, but nothing about the situation was normal. Do you even need sleep? He asked. Lyra thought for a moment. Yes, but different. Not like humans. I can rest while still awake. My body restores itself. Ethan blinked. So you just sat there all night? She nodded lightly. Your world is very loud, but also beautiful. She pointed out the window. So many stars remain hidden here. Your sky, it is full of life, even if you do not see. Ethan looked out too. He had always liked the stars, but hearing her words gave them new meaning. He sighed. All right. Last night you told me some things, but I need details. If I'm going to help you, I need to understand what's going on. Lyra's calm face shifted to seriousness. She turned her body to face him directly, her glowing eyes steady. I will tell you. You must know. The hidden war Lyra began explaining slowly, carefully forming each sentence. Her people, known as the Illyrians, lived on a planet far from Earth, orbiting a bright star. Their world was peaceful, covered with forests, crystal rivers, and glowing skies. For centuries, they avoided war and focused on building knowledge. Their technology advanced in ways Ethan could barely imagine. Machines powered by light, travel between stars, and the ability to bend energy itself. But their peace had drawn enemies. Another race, the Droxan Dominion, was built on conquest. Where Illyrians created, the Droxan destroyed. Where Illyrians shared, the Droxan took. For years, the Illyrians tried to avoid conflict, but the Dominion grew greedy. They wanted everything, Lyra said softly. Our knowledge, our light, our world. We tried to give them peace. They gave us fire. Her voice trembled slightly as she described how the Droxan launched attacks on Illyrian cities. Whole forests burned, and skies once filled with light turned red with war. The Illyrians were brilliant, but they were not soldiers. Slowly, they began to lose. Ethan clenched his fists as he listened. He could picture it, the destruction of a peaceful world by a brutal empire. His chest felt heavy, but he stayed silent, letting her continue. Lyra explained that she was part of a group working on secret technology, devices that could move someone instantly across vast distances. It was meant to save their people, to hide them until the war ended, but the Droxan discovered the project. They attacked the research facility, forcing her to flee with the unfinished device. "I did not choose Earth," she said quietly. "The device chose. It looked for coordinates of safe world. One that may hold hope. It broke. But still, it sent me here." Ethan leaned back, stunned. "Wait, so Earth was already in the data of your people? You knew about us?" Lyra nodded slightly. "Long ago, Illyrians studied many stars. Your world was interesting, dangerous, but full of possibility. Data showed. Humans are different. You survive where others cannot. That is why the device brought me here." Her words sent a chill down Ethan's spine. He had always heard humans were fragile compared to what aliens might be, but Lyra spoke of survival as though it was humanity's greatest strength. A heavy responsibility. Ethan walked to the kitchen, made 2 cups of tea, though he wasn't sure if Lyra could even drink it, and returned. He handed her a cup. She took it carefully, studying it before taking a small sip. Her eyes widened slightly and she gave a faint smile. "Warm, sweet, I like." Ethan chuckled nervously. "Good, at least you won't starve." But inside he was struggling. He sat down, holding his cup tightly. "Lyra, I'm just me. I'm not a soldier, not a scientist, not even someone important. Why did you have to end up in my room? What am I supposed to do with all this?" Lyra placed her cup down gently. "Because sometimes it is not about who is strongest. Sometimes the one who listens is enough. You listen. You believe. That makes you important." Her words surprised him. He had never thought of himself that way. He always saw himself as ordinary, unremarkable. But Lyra looked at him with steady eyes as though she truly believed what she said. Ethan sighed. "Okay, let's say I try to help you. What happens if your pursuers, those Droxan, find you here? What if Earth gets involved in this war?" Lyra lowered her gaze, sadness shadowing her face. "Then your world will suffer. They do not forgive. If they know I am here, they will come, and they will burn." Ethan felt a chill spread through him. Earth was not ready for a war like that. Humanity fought wars among itself, yes, but against starfaring conquerors. It would be hopeless unless... He looked at Lyra. "Is there any way to stop them? Any chance at all?" Lyra hesitated. "Maybe. Your people are unpredictable, strong in ways not written. If humans stand, perhaps even Droxan will fall." Ethan didn't fully understand, but the determination in her eyes gave him a strange spark of hope. The weight of discovery for the rest of the day, Lyra explored Ethan's apartment with curiosity. She touched the books on his shelves, pressed buttons on the television remote, and studied the glowing screen with fascination. She asked countless questions about Earth, about humans, about why things were built the way they were. Ethan answered as best he could. It was strange to see his world through her eyes. Things he took for granted, like electricity, food and packages, even the act of cooking, were wonders to her. She compared human inventions with Illyrian ones, sometimes smiling at how creative humans could be, sometimes frowning at how wasteful they were. At one point, she said softly, "Your people have much anger, but also much kindness. You destroy, but also create. That is why I believe you are important." Ethan didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken of humanity that way to him. He felt both proud and uneasy. That night, when darkness fell again, Ethan sat at his desk while Lyra sat nearby, quietly watching the stars through the window. Silence filled the room, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Ethan finally asked, "Lyra, what will you do if you fix your device? Will you leave?" She didn't answer right away. Her glowing eyes stayed on the stars. "I do not know. My people need me, but I see something here. Something my world never had. Perhaps I must stay, for now." Her words carried a quiet promise, and Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. A new beginning. As midnight approached, Ethan lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts were heavy. Yesterday, his life had been ordinary. Today, he carried secrets that could change the world. An alien war. A peaceful people destroyed. A girl from the stars sitting just meters away from him. He wondered what tomorrow would bring. Would the Droxan come? Would the government discover Lyra? Would his quiet life vanish completely? But then he thought of Lyra's words. Sometimes the one who listens is enough. Maybe he couldn't fight wars. Maybe he couldn't build machines. But he could listen. He could help. And maybe that was the first step humanity needed. As he finally closed his eyes, Lyra's soft voice reached him from across the room. "Thank you, Ethan, for giving me a place to be safe. I will not forget." Her words drifted into his mind as he fell asleep. The secret of the starlit stranger was now his to carry, and though he did not yet know it, the path he had chosen would soon lead him, and all of Earth, into a future no one could have imagined. The days that followed felt strange for Ethan. His small apartment, once quiet and ordinary, was now filled with something he could never have imagined: the presence of an alien girl from another world. Lyra stayed hidden most of the time, exploring his books, learning human words, and staring out of the window as if watching for something far away. At first, Ethan thought he could keep her a secret easily. But soon little things began to happen that made him worry. Strange signs. It started with the electricity. The lights in his apartment flickered randomly at night even though there was no storm. The television sometimes turned on by itself, showing only static. Ethan thought it was just faulty wiring, but Lyra's reaction told him otherwise. She would go still, her glowing eyes narrowing as if listening to sounds he couldn't hear. One evening, when the lights flickered again, she whispered, "They search." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean? Who's searching?" "The Droxen," she answered softly. "They look across stars for me. They're machines. They send waves. I feel them. They search for my light." Ethan's stomach tightened. "You mean they might already know you're here? On Earth?" Lyra shook her head. "Not yet, but they come closer." Her words sent a chill down his spine. Until then, the danger had felt far away, like a story. But now he realized it wasn't just her world at risk. Earth itself might soon be dragged into a war it wasn't ready for. The first warning. The next night, Ethan walked home from the store carrying groceries. The streets were mostly empty, but he noticed something odd. High above the city, where airplanes usually flew, he saw a flash of light. At first, he thought it was just a shooting star, but then another appeared, moving too quickly and too sharply to be natural. He froze, staring upward. The lights weren't meteors. They moved like ships. When he reached his apartment, he rushed inside, nearly dropping the bags. Lyra was already by the window, her face pale. "You saw them too," Ethan said. She nodded slowly. "Scouts, they are here." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "Here, as in Earth?" Lyra's voice was quiet but firm. "Yes, small ships first. They search. If they find me, more will come." Ethan put his hands on his head, pacing the room. "This is insane. What are we supposed to do? I can't fight alien ships. I can't even get anyone to believe me." Lyra's eyes followed him calmly. "Sometimes. Belief is strongest weapon, but I cannot do this alone." Her words echoed in his mind. He wanted to laugh, to scream, to deny it all, but he couldn't. The truth was right in front of him. Earth had been noticed, and now danger was near. Human reactions. Ethan tried to keep calm the next day at work, but he couldn't. His co-workers joked about strange lights people had reported online. Some thought they were just military experiments, others claimed they were drones, and a few called them UFOs with excitement. Ethan kept silent. If only they knew the truth. When he returned home, he told Lyra about it. She listened quietly, then said, "Your people, they laugh because they do not see the danger. That is both strength and weakness. They are not afraid yet, but when truth comes, fear will be great." Ethan nodded slowly. He could already imagine the chaos if the world suddenly learned aliens were real, and not friendly ones. The signal. A week later, something happened that changed everything. Late at night, Ethan's phone buzzed with a notification. He picked it up and frowned. The screen was filled with strange symbols, lines of code that didn't belong to any message or app. "What is this?" he muttered. Lyra came closer, her eyes widening. "It is them. Droxen signal. They send warnings, commands, and across space. They may have found trace." Ethan swallowed hard. "You mean this came to my phone because of you?" Lyra lowered her head. "Yes, my device. It is broken, but it still sends energy. They follow it, and now they see you too." Ethan felt fear crawl up his spine. He wasn't just hiding her anymore, he was now a target. "What happens if they find us?" he asked. Lyra looked at him with a seriousness he had never seen before. Then Earth will see its first war with stars. The choice that night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, staring at his phone, the strange symbols still glowing on the screen. He thought about calling the authorities, but what would he say? An alien is living in my apartment and enemy ships are coming? They'd think he was insane. He looked at Lyra, who was sitting quietly on the floor, her hands folded in her lap, her face calm, even in the growing danger. "Why me, Lyra?" he finally asked. "Out of all the people in the world, why did you end up in my room? I can't protect you. I can't even protect myself." Lyra lifted her gaze slowly. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "Because sometimes the universe chooses at random. But I believe, not random, I believe you are meant to see. To know you are first human I meet, and maybe first who will stand." Ethan shook his head. "Stand against what? Against starships? Against soldiers from another world? You will not be alone," Lyra said softly. "When the time comes, your people will see truth. And they will rise. That is what makes humans strong. You rise even when impossible." Her words touched something deep inside him. He didn't want to believe he could make a difference. But maybe he could. Signs of danger. The following days grew more tense. Strange disturbances appeared across the city. Satellites lost contact for hours. Power grids flickered. Some planes reported seeing shadows in the sky, like invisible shapes moving through the clouds. Ethan and Lyra stayed hidden, but the sense of being hunted grew stronger. One evening, while walking back from the store, Ethan noticed a black car parked across the street from his building. Two men sat inside watching. They looked ordinary, but something about them felt wrong. When he entered his apartment, he told Lyra. She nodded gravely. "Not Droxan, humans, but they sense something. Perhaps government. They also search for truth." Ethan rubbed his forehead. "So it's not just aliens after us now. It's my own people too?" Lyra's voice was quiet. "Yes, truth cannot stay hidden forever." The promise that night, as the city outside grew silent, Ethan and Lyra sat by the window together. The stars shone brightly above, though a few of them seemed to flicker unnaturally. "Ships," Lyra said, watching. Ethan leaned back, exhausted. "So what happens now? Do we just wait until they come? Until everything falls apart?" Lyra turned to him. For the first time, there was no sadness in her eyes, only determination. "No, we prepare. I cannot leave yet. Device is broken, but you can help me hide, help me learn. If we prepare, then maybe your world will not be caught blind." Ethan hesitated, then nodded slowly. "All right. If we're really in this together, then I'll help, no matter what happens." Lyra gave him a small smile, faint but warm. "Then we are not alone." At that moment, Ethan realized something had changed. He was no longer just a man hiding a strange visitor. He was part of something larger, something that could decide the fate of his world. And though shadows of pursuit were closing in, he felt a spark of courage ignite within him. For the first time, he believed Lyra's words. Humanity could rise, but first they would have to survive the storm that was already on its way. The city looked the same as always. Cars moved down the streets, people walked with bags of groceries, and children laughed in the parks. On the surface, nothing had changed. But for Ethan, everything felt different. He knew the truth. Ships from another world were already above, hidden in the sky. Lyra could feel it too. Every evening she sat by the window, eyes glowing faintly as she studied the stars. Ethan often asked what she saw, and she would reply with quiet words that made his heart tighten. "They are closer now. Soon they will test your world." Ethan didn't know what test meant, but he feared he would soon find out. Strange movements. It began with reports on the news. A cargo ship at sea disappeared without a trace. A military plane vanished from the radar over the mountains. In the city, strange blackouts occurred, sometimes lasting only seconds, but enough to cause panic. Most people shrugged it off, blaming accidents, storms, or human error. But Ethan and Lyra knew better. "They are scouting," Lyra explained one night. "They strike small first. They learn your defenses. When they know you cannot see them, they move closer." Ethan paced the room, restless. "And then what? They just start attacking cities?" Lyra's expression was grave. If they find me, yes. If not, they may still attack. Droxen do not care for peace, they care only for fear. The thought made Ethan shiver. Earth wasn't ready. Humanity had armies and weapons, but against starships? It was like swords against thunder. A glimpse of the enemy. One night, Ethan woke to a loud sound outside. It wasn't thunder, though the sky flashed with light. He rushed to the balcony and froze. Above the city, clouds twisted unnaturally. For a moment, a shape appeared, dark and massive, like a shadow floating across the stars. It moved silently, almost invisible, before vanishing into the night. Lyra appeared beside him, her eyes filled with worry. They reveal themselves. The hunt begins. Ethan swallowed hard. That was a ship, wasn't it? She nodded. Scout class. Not largest, but deadly enough. Ethan felt his legs weaken. The truth was no longer hidden in small signs or faint signals. The enemy was here above them, watching. The first attack. The next day, the city erupted in chaos. Early in the morning, explosions shook the industrial district. A fuel plant burst into flames, though no one could explain what caused it. Witnesses spoke of lights in the sky, beams that cut through steel like paper. Ethan watched the news in horror. Lyra stood behind him, silent. It has begun, she said softly. They test your strength. Later that night, Ethan heard sirens outside. He ran to the balcony and saw people pointing at the sky. Above, 3 glowing orbs moved silently between the clouds. They weren't airplanes. They weren't drones. They were Droxen scouts. A jet from the local air base rose to meet them. Ethan held his breath, watching the small human craft charge forward. But before it could even fire, one of the orbs flashed, and the jet exploded in a ball of fire. The glowing orbs disappeared into the night. Ethan turned away, sick to his stomach. Humanity's first battle in the sky had lasted only seconds, and humanity had lost. The decision. That night, Ethan sat at his desk, head in his hands. This is hopeless, Lyra. We can't fight them. We don't even understand their weapons. Lyra placed a hand gently on his shoulder. Hopeless. Only if you surrender. But your people are clever. I have seen it. You build from little. You survive storms no one else could. That is why I believe humans can fight back. Ethan lifted his head slowly. But how? Even your people couldn't stop them. Lyra hesitated, then reached into her small satchel, the one she had carried when she first appeared. She pulled out a crystal-like device that glowed faintly. This is a Lyrian core. Small piece, but powerful. If I share knowledge, your people can build weapons. Not like Droxen, but different. Strong in your own way. Ethan stared at it, amazed. You'd give this to us? Lyra nodded. If I do nothing, Earth will fall. If I share, maybe Earth will rise. Ethan took a deep breath. It was a dangerous step, but he knew she was right. Humanity couldn't fight empty-handed. They needed something more. The first spark of resistance. The following days were tense. Ethan didn't know who to trust, but he remembered an old friend, Marcus, who worked in a research lab connected to the military. Marcus was always open-minded, the kind of person who believed in possibilities others laughed at. After long thought, Ethan called him. Marcus, Ethan whispered on the phone. I need to show you something, but you have to promise to keep it quiet, no matter what. Marcus chuckled. You sound serious, Ethan. What is it? Ethan swallowed. Proof. Proof that we're not alone, and that we're in danger. There was silence on the line. Then Marcus answered, Come tomorrow. Bring what you have. When Ethan ended the call, he turned to Lyra. She looked uncertain. You trust him? Ethan nodded. If anyone will believe, it's Marcus. Lyra sighed but said nothing more. She knew time was short. Shadows grow. That night, the sky over the city was filled with strange lights again. People recorded them on their phones, posting videos online. Some laughed, calling them tricks. Others panicked, claiming invasion. Ethan and Lyra watched together. "They grow bold," Lyra said. "Scouts test openly now. Soon, larger ships may follow." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we don't have much time." Suddenly, a bright flash tore across the sky. A building in the distance collapsed, flames rising high. Screams filled the air. The Droxan had struck again. Ethan felt his fear harden into something new: anger. He turned to Lyra. "No more hiding. Tomorrow we start fighting back." The meeting, the next day, Ethan met Marcus in a quiet corner of the lab after hours. He carried Lyra's glowing device in a small box. Marcus opened it and gasped. "What is this?" Ethan glanced around nervously, then whispered, "It's not from Earth, and neither is the person who gave it to me." Marcus stared at him in disbelief. "Ethan, are you serious?" Before Ethan could answer, Lyra stepped forward from the shadows. Her silver hair glowed faintly under the lights. Marcus's eyes widened, his mouth falling open. This is impossible." Lyra bowed her head slightly. "I am Lyra, not from your world, but your world is in danger. I need your help." Marcus staggered back, then laughed nervously. "This is insane, an alien, in our city, and you just bring her here?" Ethan grabbed his arm. "Listen to me, Marcus. She's telling the truth. You've seen the reports, the lights, the explosions. This is real, and it's just the beginning. If we don't act, Earth is finished." Marcus looked at Ethan, then at Lyra, then at the glowing device. Slowly, his disbelief gave way to something else: curiosity, and maybe hope. "What do you want me to do?" Marcus asked. Ethan exhaled with relief. "Help us build something. A defense. Anything. You're the only one I can trust with this." Marcus studied the device carefully, his eyes shining with determination. "All right, I'll try. But if you're right, then we're going to need more than just science. We'll need courage." Lyra's voice was steady. "And humans have both." The storm ahead that night, Ethan returned home with Lyra. For the first time, he felt they weren't completely alone. Someone else now knew the truth. Someone who might help. But outside, the shadows grew longer. More lights appeared in the sky, staying longer this time. The Droxan scouts no longer hid as carefully as before. Lyra stood by the window, watching with quiet resolve. The first strike has begun. Soon, they will come in full. Ethan stood beside her, his fists tight, but his heart steady. "Then we'll be ready. We won't run. Not this time." For the first time since it all began, Ethan felt something stronger than fear. He felt the beginning of resistance. The war for Earth had started, and he knew there was no turning back. The city was no longer calm. Fear had spread like fire. Every night, strange lights filled the sky. Explosions struck without warning. Entire blocks went dark when the Droxan ships passed overhead. People whispered of war, though no one could explain it. For Ethan, the world he once knew was gone. His only comfort was Lyra. She stayed by his side, quiet but strong, guiding him through the storm. Together, they had made a choice. Earth would not bow down. Preparing the resistance, Marcus worked night and day in the secret lab. He studied the Illyrian core, the crystal Lyra had given them. Its light never faded, its energy pure and endless. With Lyra's guidance, Marcus began building a prototype, a weapon that might help humans fight back. Ethan often visited, carrying supplies and sometimes staying to help. He wasn't a scientist, but he was determined. "How is it going?" Ethan asked one evening, watching Marcus adjust wires connected to the glowing crystal. Marcus rubbed his tired eyes. "It's hard. This isn't like anything I've ever seen, but I think I'm starting to understand. It's not about brute force, it's about harmony. The core amplifies what you give it. If we link it to our systems, we can make weapons stronger than anything we have now." Lyra nodded. "Yes, Illyrian technology is not about destruction. It is about balance." But when balance is broken, it can be used to protect. Ethan placed a hand on the table. Then let's protect this world, whatever it takes. First victory 1 week later, the chance came. Another Droxan scout appeared above the city. It hovered silently, scanning the streets below. Panic spread as people ran for shelter. This time, Marcus was ready. He had connected the Illyrian core to an old military vehicle, transforming it into a strange but powerful cannon. He and Ethan set it up on a rooftop, with Lyra helping guide the controls. The scout ship fired first, a beam slicing through a nearby building. The ground shook and flames erupted. Now, Lyra cried. Ethan pulled the trigger. The cannon hummed and a bright blue beam shot upward, striking the scout ship directly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered violently and exploded in a shower of light. The crowd below gasped. For the first time, humanity had struck back and won. Ethan's chest rose and fell as he stared at the sky, hardly believing it. We did it. Marcus grinned, though his face was pale with shock. It worked. The core worked. Lyra's eyes glowed softly, pride shining in them. This is only the beginning, but now, your people will believe. The world awakens. The news spread quickly. Across the city, across the country, across the world. People saw the video of the strange weapon shooting down an alien ship. Governments could no longer deny what was happening. The world was under attack, but the video also gave hope. Humanity was not powerless. Soon soldiers came to Marcus's lab, not to arrest him but to listen. They asked questions, studied the weapon, and requested his help. Marcus agreed with one condition: Lyra must be protected. From then on, Marcus, Ethan, and Lyra worked with small groups of scientists and soldiers. They built more weapons, slowly but surely. Each device glowed with Illyrian energy, a mixture of human skill and alien wisdom. Lyra often warned them, "The Droxan will not wait. When they see your strength, they will send more. Bigger ships, stronger weapons. You must be ready." The great invasion, her warning proved true. One night the sky tore open with fire. Dozens of massive Droxan ships descended, their dark hulls glowing with red light. The city shook as their weapons rained down. Towers fell, streets cracked, and the air filled with smoke. Ethan stood with Lyra and Marcus on the rooftop, watching the horror. "This is it?" Marcus whispered. "The real invasion." People screamed below as the Droxan forces unleashed small machines that flew like swarms of insects, hunting anyone who ran. Ethan clenched his fists. "We have to fight. We can't just stand here." Lyra stepped forward, her silver hair shining even in the darkness. "Then we fight together." Humanity's stand across the city, the new Illyrian human weapons were rolled out. Tanks glowed with blue light as their shells hit Droxan drones. Jets streaked through the sky, carrying weapons guided by Lyra's knowledge. For the first time, Droxan ships began to fall. Ethan joined a small group of soldiers, carrying a smaller version of the Illyrian cannon. He was not a soldier, but his determination made him strong. With Lyra guiding his aim, he destroyed 2 Droxan drones, saving a group of civilians. Marcus coordinated from the lab, sending energy readings to the fighters. His voice came through the radios. "Stay calm. Use short bursts. The core will amplify only if you focus." The battle raged through the night. The city burned, but humanity did not break. Every Droxan ship destroyed was a cry of defiance. Every civilian saved was a spark of hope. The Droxan commander, but the Droxan had not come without a leader. High above, the largest ship descended. Its shadow covered the entire city. From it came a booming voice broadcast across the air. "Humans, you are weak. You resist, but resistance is meaningless. Surrender, and we may spare some of you." Ethan felt his blood boil. He shouted at the sky, though he knew the alien might not hear. "We will never surrender." Lyra's expression hardened. "That is the Droxan commander. If we defeat him, the others will fall back. He controls them." Marcus's voice crackled over the radio. "Then we'll take him down. But we need to focus everything, every weapon, every fighter, on that one ship." The final battle, Ethan and Lyra climbed into a modified vehicle carrying the strongest Illyrian cannon they had built. Soldiers escorted them, clearing a path through burning streets. Above, the commander's ship fired again, destroying entire blocks. But the humans fought on, their weapons glowing blue against the darkness. Finally, they reached the central square. Ethan aimed the cannon upward. The massive ship loomed above like a mountain of metal. Lyra placed her hand on the cannon, her energy flowing into it. "Ethan, this is our chance. But you must believe. The core listens to the heart." Ethan nodded, sweat running down his face. He took a deep breath and focused, not on fear, but on the people running for safety, on Marcus working desperately in the lab, on Lyra standing beside him. He pulled the trigger. The cannon roared with light brighter than the sun. The beam shot upward, striking the Droxan commander's ship. For a moment, the massive vessel held steady. Then cracks spread across its hull. The ship trembled, fire bursting from its sides. With one final explosion, the commander's ship shattered into pieces, raining debris into the clouds. For a second, the entire city fell silent. Then cheers erupted. Soldiers raised their weapons. Civilians cried with relief. The enemy leader was gone. The remaining Droxan ships flickered and retreated, vanishing into the sky. Earth had survived. A new dawn. The morning after the battle, the city was scarred. Buildings lay in ruins, smoke still rose from the ground, and many lives had been lost. But the people stood tall. They had faced the unknown and had not bowed. Ethan, Lyra, and Marcus stood together in the square. Soldiers and civilians surrounded them, thanking them, cheering for them. "You did it," Marcus said, clapping Ethan on the back. "You actually did it." Ethan shook his head. "We did it. All of us, humanity." Lyra looked at the rising sun. Her eyes were soft, filled with emotion. "I never thought I would see this. My people fell to the Droxan long ago. But here, humans stood together. You proved them wrong." Ethan turned to her. "What about you, Lyra? Will you stay?" She smiled gently. "If you will have me, yes. This world is worth protecting, and you are worth standing beside." Ethan felt warmth in his chest. For the first time since it began, he believed the future could be bright. Epilogue. The future in. The weeks that followed, the world changed. Nations united, sharing knowledge and working together. With Lyra's help, humans rebuilt stronger, preparing for the day the Droxan might return. Ethan continued to fight, not with weapons, but with hope. He told others what Lyra had told him, that humans were stronger than they knew, that no matter how dark the night, there was always light waiting to rise. And every evening, as the stars appeared, Ethan would stand beside Lyra, watching the sky, because now they both knew the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was ready, and if the Droxan returned, they would find not fear but fire, the fire of a united world.